So Aquarius, your monthly forecast for December begins in the most sparkling, effervescent way. Venus, the relator, but also the planet of charm, has moved into the most social part of your scope, very much to do with networks, joining up with the thrust of Mars, but also the Sun. The host, Sagittarius, does have commonalities with the sign of Aquarius. You both love a degree of freedom and independence. You can both be pretty frank, and you both can connect to people in a way without too many strings and expectations. So have different types of friends, multiple types of connections with people, because you don't necessarily judge people because they're not exactly like you. And that sociability, that fraternity, to use a more American word, is going to be very much to the fore as you come into this month. And people can be drawn to your warmth, your bonhomie. But there is a full moon on the 4th. What's the significance of that? Well, it's in the sign of the social butterfly, which is Gemini. And for you, the 5th house is more about what you want to manifest as an individual. Now, usually a 5th, 11th house full moon is probably one of the more engaging and more tolerable full moons. It does suggest that there could be a little bit of a juggle. So we can't necessarily reach into every invite and meet everyone's expectations. So that could be a bit of an issue. And of course, the moon in Gemini, it's not a very sentimental location. It's known as being peregrine in a more technical sense, so it's a bit unrooted. The moon wants feeling, and Gemini wants conversation. But I feel some sparkling conversations can come from that full moon. It's just that the T-square to the point of destiny, the North Node in Pisces, is reminding you of values. And that's been a big theme. For the last couple of years, your traditional ruler, Saturn, has, for the main part, been in the sign of Pisces and really given you a bit of a crash course in learning what's truly important to you, because we all have different things that give us pleasure, enjoyment, satisfaction. Having enough money to engage with those things is important, but there may have been some financial headwinds over the last couple of years, or maybe the generosity and kindness that you've extended to people with Neptune going through your 2nd house 4 times since 212. That may have also been challenged by Saturn, which has asked you to be more realistic about your resources. But one of the things that's intriguing as this month steps on is that Mars, in that friendly sign of Sagittarius, Mars here really is very energized, very enthusiastic. But what I would say is that if you encounter some people whose values really don't chime with yours, it could be quite grating. So for example, if you're keen to raise money for a good cause in the run up to Christmas, or you've got maybe a friend who's not as well off as other people in your circle, but there are other people who are a bit judgy about that, that's something that could exercise you. But also if someone is inclined to take your generosity for granted, that's another thing that could stand out. And as much as this part of the year is about mixing and mingling, if it's with people that you don't really have an affinity with, that won't necessarily see you enjoy the mixing and mingling as much as being with people you do. Now, Neptune going direct on the 10th will help. Mercury returning back into the sign of Sagittarius on the 11th will also help, because Mercury has been making its way through both Scorpio and Sagittarius in its retrograde season. It emerges from the shadow on the 17th, but you have been diverted recently by some professional demands, I think, and if that has got in the way of having some fun, Mercury moving back into Sagittarius will surely help. But then Mars moves into your 12th house, a tender area on the 15th, but not before it's come into a really testing right angle with Saturn and also Neptune. If you're buying anything, particularly as a Christmas gift, I would use sources to arrange that sale that you can really trust. The 2nd house can be about money. The 11th house can be that part of you that's a bit more idealistic, very inspirational, very foresighted. But if you are wanting to get some last minute Christmas gifts, just be careful, because although Mercury is back in a friendlier location for you, it's still not its best location in terms of buying and selling things, particularly online, and especially if you're trying to book some travel, or perhaps you're buying something from a further afield. So there could be an affliction, because essentially Mars is the lesser malefic and Saturn the greater malefic, and they're not on great terms through the first 10 or 11 days of this month. And that could create an aberration. And it's important, therefore, for us all, particularly when you've got a cluster of energy in a very idealistic area and a very free-spirited sign of Sagittarius, which could see you a bit resistant to anyone's nudges of advice or viewpoints. Just be conscious there could be something that you may feel a bit conflicted about, that you're not really getting your values met at quite the level that you feel you're worth. And with Mars diving deep at the middle of the month, followed by the Sun on the 21st and also Venus, the latter part of this month is going to be much more sensitive than usual. But that doesn't disguise the fact that there is a bubbly new moon on the 20th. It is in that sociable sign of Sagittarius, but it is clashing with Saturn and Neptune. So again, the balance between money, resources, self-worth, the foundations in your life, and how you'd really like it to be, or how you'd like people to be. You may experience some people, therefore, who disappoint you in the early parts of this month. But I don't want you, as an Aquarius person, to stop being true to your credentials, what makes you special. And that can be a higher standard of being. You know, we're seeing an awful lot of negative energy being manifested in the world, which is not good for us. We all soak up all this stuff that's going on. So if there's something you feel strongly about and you want to stick with that, then that's fabulous. But we also have to be realistic about how the world truly is. So if money's a bit tight, don't be too ambitious to be a people pleaser. If you're trying to organise people around a group activity, just know that someone could be unreliable and let you down. You may become much more conscious of someone who doesn't meet your expectation at any level, and that could be very disappointing. But then from the winter solstice, and then with Venus joining up, you could find yourself hugely nostalgic in the last 10 days of this month. For some Aquarius people, there could be some surprise contact with someone from your past. Now, I think it's very important that astrologers on YouTube, for example, don't drop tropes like, oh, a face from your past is going to turn up in your life. Well, of course it could happen. It's Christmas. You may get a message on social media. You may get a Christmas card. That's an easy one, isn't it? But it's important for astrologers to be sincere. It's only may, could, might, not will, definitely. It's not nailed on. It's possible, because the 12th house can be about thinking back retrospectively. But it could also be that you just feel much more aware of the people who are not with you as you go through the festive period. But the more traditional side of Christmas, forget the money, the spending, the gifts, just being with people that you feel really at ease with, in simpatico with, getting in nature, going for some walks by water, the 12th house energy. Capricorn, of course, is very real, you know, good food, some pleasant company, some quiet times, and maybe even some recuperation if you're off work, taking some time to just have some duvet days and really kick back, read a nice book, watch a lovely film, have a little bit of escapism and rest. Why not? It's all preparing you for what's going to be a dramatic new year, but the first solar eclipse in your zodiac sign for about 9 years, going to be occurring on the 17th of February, and you've got that to look forward to and a whole lot more. If you've yet to watch your year 2026 deep dive forecast, please see the link below this video. If you've yet to order your personal forecast for year 2026, you can do so now. You'll also get your life roadmap report, which helps you to understand the patterns that are played out in your life so far. The combination of the two will help you to plan your moves in the months ahead so much more effectively. 30% off, free gift of your general, love, Chinese and Indian written forecast for each of the 12 signs. Please see the link below for more.